Hello everybody. Next up we take a trip to the strange world of Chelsea. Kick off on Sundays 2 p.m. So Chelsea then, well, it's all a bit like the scene in Casablanca where the Nazi officer instructs Captain Renault to shut down Rick's Café Americain after they all sing the Marseillaise. I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here, says Claude Rains, just before the waiter approaches and hands him all his winnings. When Abramovich came on board a few hours before the banks were about to pull the plug on Chelsea, who had hitherto been owned by Ken Bates, it was widely acknowledged that the Russians' money was, well, a bit iffy in origin. Indeed, he already had a prison sentence on his CV for theft of government property. However, despite his involvement in the aluminium wars, his admission in court that his riches were obtained through years of bribery, and even the withdrawal of his UK resident visa by the Home Office, the football authorities seemed happy that their increasingly laughable fit and proper tests continued to be satisfied. It was only when the government hit him with sanctions following the Russian invasion of Ukraine that the football authorities were shocked to discover that Abramovich was not the saint he appeared to be if you didn't actually look at any evidence. These sanctions would have meant that Chelsea's activities were suspended completely. However, they had been operating under a special licence over the past few months, which has seen them functioning in a limited manner. Whilst season ticket holders can attend matches, general sales are banned. Away supporters can attend matches though the money from all those 30 quids goes straight to the Premier League for distribution to Ukrainian benefiting charities. Abramovich, having failed to sell the club before the sanctions kicked in, is now looking at a number of bids, including one involving Serena Williams and Lewis Hamilton. I've no idea where the former Formula One world champion's football allegiances lie, if anywhere, but I do look forward to Serena Williams telling everyone how she stood on the shed all those years ago and telling us how much she admires John Terry's commitment to diversity. Meanwhile, thousands of Chelsea fans are wondering where they left those Man United scarves back in 2003 and wondering if they'll pass for Liverpool scarves in the event of the proposed sales going pear-shaped. On the pitch, the sanctions have caused, or coincided with, a little spell of inconsistency. There are a number of players coming to the end of contracts this season, and the sanctions have meant that they have been unable to enter into negotiations for new ones, which may or may not have had some effect on proceedings. They've been fortunate that their fixture list in the league has been fairly friendly to them since January, with them facing Palace, Burnley, Norwich and Newcastle, one after the other. However, they were simply awful against Brentford, who turned them over 4-1 on their own track. Although they bounced back from that by beating Southampton 6-0, it should be pointed out that since going out of the Cup, Southampton's form has been, well, dreadful. Then in midweek they were all bad against Arsenal, a defeat that saw skipper Azpilicueta arguing with the crowd after the match, and manager Thomas Tuchel complaining about the pitch. Clearly not a happy ship at present. Despite that, they've built up a sufficient cushion over the season to keep them in third spot, with 62 points from the 31 games they've played so far. That's 5 points clear of both Spurs and Arsenal, over whom the pensioners also have a game in hand. Daisy tells me that they only made minor signings over the winter window, with kids being signed and loaned back to lower league clubs. So we'll turn the spotlight to their biggest signing of the summer window, a certain Romelu Lukaku. Now, over the years, he's been a bit of a pain in the backside to us, somehow managing to score almost every time, no matter how much better we are than the team that he was playing for. This was particularly annoying when he was at Everton, who we always seemed to play off the park, only to lose 3-2 to a 97th minute winner. However, his current spell at Stamford Bridge has been, well, less than stellar. He's appeared in about half of their league games so far, netting just 5 times in the process. He does seem to be carrying a little bit of timber since his last spell in the Premier League. Twice the size but half the player, one might say. It's been an expensive failure for the pensioners so far, having shelled out over £97 million for the striker. It should also remember that this is his second spell in Fulham Broadway. They signed him for just £10 million from Anderlecht back in 2011, though his time at this point was spent largely on loan at West Brom and Everton, who eventually signed him for £28 million in 2014. He's not been a regular starter, though he did start the game against Arsenal, so they've been told. His anonymity was such that he barely lasted the hour before coming ashore. Let's hope Tuchel hasn't been told about his record against us. With poor form like that, he'd be bound to score. One of the soon-to-be out-of-contract players is Aspilicueta. As mentioned, he got into a bit of a contretemps with a Chelsea supporter after the Arsenal game. It's quite a funny watch, actually, if you find it on YouTube. Clearly, the supporter had been giving it large, not expecting the player to come over. However, a clearly angry Aspilicueta marches over and gives the supporter both barrels. The supporter tries to smooth it all over, smiling, giving it all the thumbs up, but the player wasn't having any of it, eventually storming off in disgust despite the applause from the supporter. Let's move on, shall we, to the wild and wacky world of association football. And for once, ourselves are in the spotlight, or rather what passes for our ticketing systems are. Thursday saw the deadlines for those of us displaced from our season ticket seats. Or was it Wednesday? The days just merge into one these days. That was painless enough, though the section where you have to zoom into the stadium diagram never seems to work seamlessly. However, the big problems came when season ticket holders and members tried to get additional tickets, or just tickets. There were numerous tales of people getting to the checkout page only for the whole thing to crash and send them back to number 14,000 in the queue. A lot of people missed out purely due to the IT not being up to the job. Now, at the time of writing, I haven't seen anything by way of apology from the club or its IT partners relating to these problems, even though this is far from the first time the systems have been found wanting. The club did, however, find time to warn supporters that should any tickets turn up on the black market, they would be tracked down and face all sorts of sanctions. Of course, there were no mention of the tickets that the club had held back for its commercial partners, who seemed to be knocking them out for anywhere between £400 and £2,000 a throw. Not good enough, West Ham. On the pitch, well, the slightly disappointing last result against Burnley was less of a result of Thursday night, Sunday lunchtime syndrome, and more a function of our profligacy in front of goal. Or to be more accurate, a function of our profligacy in front of goal combined with the excellence of Nick Pope in the opposition goal. There had been rumours linking us with a bid for the England custodian in the next window, and there would definitely be no complaints around here were that to be the case. The game itself was a bit of an oddity. We were all over them until the horrific injury to Westwood happened. That seemed to affect us more than Burnley, who, after the lengthy stoppage, took the lead. Vlasic appeared particularly distraught, and whilst I'm no expert on the matter, one does question whether a player that distraught was really fit to carry on. Not all injuries are physical. Either way, we wish Westwood well. Of course, the match finished with the news that Issa Diop has become the latest back four participant to pick up an injury. Like Zuma, it could well be his season done. Now, I know there's a general problem with the lack of investment or transfer activity, meaning that we have a squad that's light on numbers at the best of times. However, losing 3 out of 4 potential first-choice central defenders would be a tough ask for even the biggest squads in the land. There have been mutterings to the effect that, given that Harry Maguire plays for England, Craig Dawson should be a shoo-in for the squad, what with him being a much better player and all that. Whilst that has a certain logic, and I'd never deny a player the opportunity to play for his country, I'm kind of hoping that Southgate won't have taken his Liverpool and Palace specs off to actually look at decent players elsewhere. We've just got the one central defender left, and I've no desire to see him hobbling back from Wembley on crutches. Incidentally, while we're talking transfers, my attention was directed towards a hilarious puff piece in something called the Daily Star. No, me neither. In it, the writer heaped praise by the bucket load on our current owners and claimed that this summer we'd be shopping in a different market. Let's hope they turn up when it's open then. As mentioned, Diop joins Zuma and Ogbonna in the infirmary, with none of those looking likely to make a contribution to the last knockings of the season. There are options, of course. Declan can play in there, and Cresswell has been known to play as part of a back three, which begs the question as to who joins him alongside Dawson if that happens. If we do go to a three, there is an option to bring in Masuaku as a wing-back. Whatever happens, at least Diop's absence was apparent early enough in the week to give Moyes time to formulate and work on the alternatives. Which brings us on to the prediction. Well, our defence's absences are a worry to be sure, but I've got an odd feeling this is going to be one of those odd days. You know, like a couple of years back when we were reduced to picking what was nominally our third-choice keeper in the form of David Martin, after Roberto had turned out to be less of a goalkeeper and more of a half-man, half-jellyfish. We won that game, and deservedly so. We'll need to be quick and sharp on the break, and we'll need to finish those chances as they occur. Yes, you, Mr. Antonio. On the whole, I think defensive injuries may well prove too much of an issue for the win to be high on the probability stakes. Though given their own defensive frailties, I shouldn't be ruling it out completely. However, I'll go for us to battle out a draw on this occasion. So the £2.50 I was going to spend on an entry into the Find Abramovich's Yacht competition will instead be going on a 2-2 scoreline, if that's okay with you, Mr. Winston. Enjoy the game.
So we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.